For centuries, indigenous people flourished in the Americas. Despite the many physical and emotional challenges that tribal people faced every day, they had a sense of place and interconnectedness with the natural world and each other. This relationship was essential to their healing practices. Trained traditional medicine people would diagnose and treat individuals using medicinal plants, song, healing dances, and ceremony. Their efforts were intended to restore balance to the individual's emotional, spiritual, physical, and mental state. In the 19th century, colonizers moved across the North American continent, and many of the cultural practices were banned. Often, practitioners were silenced or killed in an effort to civilize and convert tribes to Christianity. Since that time, government policies have been implemented that removed tribes and individuals from their culture and away from their tribal lands. Removing children and placing them in boarding schools or in foster homes was one of the most devastating policies designed to acculturate indigenous people. Native people continue their struggle to heal from historical trauma. The wounding has echoed through generations and manifests in the health disparities facing Native Americans today. Native Americans are 2.5 times more likely to experience trauma and be exposed to violence. Suicide is 3 times the national average. And 45% of American Indian, Alaskan Native women have experienced intimate partner violence. Despite, or perhaps because of these challenges in Indian country, a wellness movement has emerged that has focused on community healing and the revival of traditional healing practices. Cultural practices such as talking and drumming circles and the sweat lodge have undergone revitalization in both reservation and urban settings. In the prevention field, these practices are designated as culturally driven interventions. Art Martinez, a clinical psychologist and a member of the Chumash tribes, speaks for the healing power of ceremony.
Well, ceremonies are really the sacred way of connecting and using the very things that the Creator gave to us to bring healing. So they bring that connection in. They actually change the dynamic from a dynamic of injury, let's say, or response, or survivor kind of mode, to an experience of remediation and endurance. A way of saying that, we still are who we are. And the healing that needs to take place is the healing that brings us back to the people we are. Without sacrificing, without letting this event, whatever that event might be, change who we are and who we were meant to be. And so ceremonies, in their own medicine, change the dynamic back to a dynamic of healing that's defined by the ceremony itself. And therefore you're building upon something that's within the person already. You're not saying, well, all your skill set didn't work, so throw all that away, those are faulty beliefs or something. And we're going to give you this new way of thinking and then think that way. Well, that might work for some people, but it assumes that they didn't have anything within them that was of value. And we know better. In sweats and other ceremonies, people often that are having traumatic experiences, or that are having experiences where they're responding to something that's going on, will feel the strength of their elders. They'll feel the strength of their people in the ceremony with them. And it'll be so familiar to them and so enriching to them that it sends the clear message to them unconsciously or consciously that we will survive this.
Wellness curricula such as the Gathering of Native Americans, White Bison, and the Red Road Movement have also gained momentum across Indian country. The Gathering of Native Americans, or GONA, has been given the designation of practice-based evidence, and the GONA has been delivered across Indian country and Alaska. Some of the characteristics of a GONA as well as other practice-based interventions are: they are developed by and for the community that they are to be implemented in. They emphasize the role of historical trauma and its enduring impact on community wellness. They are based on community and cultural strengths. They weave together the indigenous knowledge of the people through story, song, ceremony, and culturally relevant research. They are often designated as promising practices or practice-based evidence. And they build a community's own healing capacity by using a training of facilitators approach. The GONA curriculum is adaptable to any indigenous community. The GONA's themes parallel Judith Herman's stages of healing, supporting it as a culturally safe way to address trauma. Many programs and communities use the GONA to gather data and for developing strategic plans to address behavioral health issues. Jennifer Ruiz, CEO of the Fresno American Indian Health Project in Fresno, California, has seen the GONA heal and empower the community.
From our community members and staff that they want to make sure that that's an annual event. And I really see that it's become a movement. And we've been doing a youth GONA, so we've seen the impact that these young people have who participate in it and their excitement about looking forward to that event annually. But we're also a very small organization here, and so there's no way we would have been able to serve that many young people. At the last event we had 70. And so the only way we can really make an event that large happen is that the community volunteerism grew as well. And so we had the additional chaperones and support staff that we needed to make it happen. But my favorite activity about the GONA that I think is really valuable for a lot of different reasons is that the youth go through a process of identifying what it is in what broke apart the Indian world. So what are the things that have happened in their communities that have torn it apart and created emergencies or crisis or bad things to happen? And then right after that, figuring out how do we resolve this and how do we fix it and how do we learn from those experiences and make sure that it doesn't happen again. And every single year I'm very impressed by what the youth come up with, what they identify as the things that really have hurt our community and the creative solutions that they come up with how to fix it. And so I think that process is healing in and of itself, but it's also, to me as somebody who runs an organization that's trying to work with the community and respond to the need, it's a really valuable strategic planning tool to have our youth and community members expressing on an annual basis what we need to do and what's creating the problems that we're seeing and how can we make it better. So there's a lot of other things in GONA that I believe the youth and then the adult volunteers really connect with. But from my perspective, that's one of the most important points, is that the youth and community feel like not only are they going through this process of healing, but that they're contributing to make things better in the future, and that they have a forum to have their voice heard and feel like they can actually contribute to that. So, and I know, like in the first year when it was very new for our community, we had a lot of resistance from the youth, and some of them very verbally expressing that they were only there because their parents made them come, or that they didn't really want to be there. But by the end of that, the first year, the first week, that really changed. And then each year it's progressively, I think, gotten stronger to where they know what to expect and they look forward to it, and they've built a relationship with the staff members and volunteers who are helping them during that week, and so they see them at other community events and they kind of gravitate to them because they've built that trust with them. So I think from the youth perspective we've seen that, and during the actual GONA we see a lot more youth willing to take healthy risks and volunteer to either facilitate parts or volunteer to lead different activities. They feel more comfortable doing that. From the adult volunteer perspective, we have seen that grow a lot as well. For some volunteers really embracing that facilitation, and maybe at one point they weren't as comfortable with public speaking or presenting things, and they've grown into really looking forward to doing that. And the volunteers, I have to say, are really great because not only do they volunteer their time during that week that we have GONA every year, but actually the next month after GONA, they're already meeting again and already discussing how we can make it better for the next year, and how we can change it to incorporate new things that we haven't done yet. So it's really throughout the entire year. And our GONA is held in July, and already right now the planning committee are meeting on a weekly basis, putting together the agenda for that week and just trying to make sure that it's a really great experience for everybody that's involved.
The emerging wellness movement has woven together indigenous research, traditional practices, and the principles of trauma-informed approaches to guide communities in healing, reconnection, and empowerment.